Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to our episode 2 of Discrd.js-v12-Tutorial. So I've made quite a few changes, and I want to try my best to explain. First off, I wanted to address in the last episode, somehow global.prefix got changed to global this.prefix. I don't know if there's a huge difference, but we want to keep it at global.prefix equals that. And then secondly, in our .getignore, I did pack lock JSON. It's package lock JSON. So I made this GitHub repository, and I'm trying to make this as user-friendly as possible. So if you go over to our GitHub repository, we're going to have each episode in its own folder. And then if you come down here, we have our to get started, what you need to install. So VSCode, Node, and Git. And then I have steps for running our code. If you want to run a specific episode's code, this is how we would do so. And then if you need support, you can, of course, check out the Discrd.js documentation, join my Discord, or leave comments in the YouTube section, and someone will try and get back to you. And as always, I want to give credit to MenuDocs and the source code. They are people who have greatly helped in my development in Discord bots, and they're kind of my inspirations, and I'm going off of a lot of their code. And like I said, these guys are a big inspiration of mine. I am going off of a lot of their code, but I do not want to be copying their code. I will be using very similar directions that they take, but I'm going to be manipulating it to make it my own custom experience for everybody. And I'm going to make improvements where I see improvements to be needed. So next thing, I wanted to explain how if you are a user and you want to run the code that we have here, so the code that I'm pushing to the GitHub repository, I explain it here. You're going to have to install Git beforehand, but you're going to want to Git clone the repository to whichever directory you want. And then once you open this project directory, all we have to do is type cd and then the episode we want. So let's go back into episode 1. The first thing you need to do is npm install -- save. That's going to install our node modules. So we have our node modules now. Second thing, I've already done it, but you want to take your .env file and you want to copy it over into that folder. Once you have done that, it's as simple as node dot, and let's check our bots online equals testing. You said testing. Cool. So I just wanted to show that. So I went ahead and I copied all of our code over from episode 1 into episode 2. And in episode 2, we're going to set up a command handler. And we're doing this very early on because I feel like it is very important to have command handlers, and it simplifies things so much. So that is what we're going to be focusing on right now. So first things first, let's add. So in our index.js, you can continue doing this if you like. If this is simplistic for you and you enjoy doing else if statements, you can go ahead and do that. But we're going to have a command handler. So in that case, we're going to get rid of all this. We're also going to have handlers for other things like client events. So let's start with our handlers. So we're going to make a folder within this folder called handlers. And inside of this, we're going to have, let's just start with event.js. So that's going to be an event. And then we also want to add a folder in here for events. Okay. So we're going to have an event handler that, of course, will handle events. And so in here, we're going to add a subfolder that is called guild. because we're going to have guild events. And then inside our events folder, we also want to add client events. So we're going to have different events from guild to client. So let's first set up our event handler. So this is where I'm going to shout out the source code. I believe the MenuDocs also did this, but the source code, this is a lot of code from them, and I want to give their credit that they deserve. But we're going to do const, and then we're going to require redirSync, and that's equal require from fs. Next, module.exports equals, and then we're going to be passing in client, and then that's going to go into an arrow function here. And we're going to do const load equals dirs. And so dirs are going to be our directories within our events. So the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to go through these different directories, client and guild, and then after that, we want to have events, because we're going to have events within each of the directories, client and guild, and we'll add more later, but events are going to be equal to redirSync. Sync, not sync with a E. And then we'll do tilde. If you don't know where tilde is, it's above the tab key. We use tilde when we're trying to incorporate variables within a string. So we're going to do /events/ and then the terminology for it, or the how you implement a variable, is $ left bracket right bracket dirs /. So we're going to be loading each directory, and then we're going to be filtering the directory by d.endswith.js. So we're going through and filtering out the files that are JavaScript files. Oh, my bad, that is not a function. Next, for let file of events. So for each event, we're going to create const event equals require, and then more, we're going to use tildes again, and it's going to be // dot. And what's nice about VS Code is you can see when you're doing this, you can see your location. So we're going to do events / and then dirs. So we're going to be using that dirs variable because we're going to be going through, like I said, each of these directories and then loading the commands within each directory, or not commands, but the JS files, events, and then /file. So that will be our event. So we'll let events name equal file.split. I cannot type. I feel so bad. Even watching this, I cringe, but we're going to split on the dot, and then we're going to say 0, index 0. So it's basically getting rid of the extension of the event. So like, for example, client on ready, we're going to have a ready.js. And so our event name is just going to be ready instead of ready.js. Then client.on event name, we're going to event dot bind, and then null, and we're going to pass it client. All right, and so once we have done that, for now we have client and guild. We're going to make an array with client and guild. Whoops, just that. And then for each, we're going to, of course, load these dirs. So load X. So this is our simple event handler, and this is going to allow us to, I misspelled that, not capital A. This is going to handle our events within client and guild. And so now what we can do is add our message handler. So if we go in and add into our guild message.js, so on the event of a message, we're going to before we do this, I want to make a file inside of our directory called functions.js. Functions.js are going to be global functions that we will use. Module.exports, and these will be functions we use throughout the files. And I'm a huge fan of error handling, so we're going to make a deletion function, because in our message we're going to wind up using this delete function. So we're making an async function named del in this case, and then it's going to take the parameters message and timeout. And this may not make any sense, but all of this has been for a reason. I have error handled for quite a while now and made sure that this is necessary. So if message, of course, if there's a message.id, I believe that is for partial messages. And then of course, if message.deletable, and then if it's deletable, we're going to set timeout, which is just, it's just going to be a function. So we can do an arrow function like that. It doesn't need any parameters. So we're going to set a timeout to message.delete. And then we set the timeout to 0 here. And the reason that is because down here for our set timeout, after our bracket, we're going to add our timeout variable. So it's going to wait. So if we input timeout as 7 seconds, it's going to wait 7 seconds and then try to delete that instantly. And we're going to catch error. This will completely eliminate errors. This may be looked down upon from some people, but this is going to eliminate errors from flooding our window. And I can guarantee you that message deletions are one of the top causes for errors. It's super frustrating. So if you like this, you can leave it at that, but I'm going to add one more feature. This is a personal preference that I really like, but if bot messages auto delete, there's sometimes the chance that I don't want it to delete. So I actually have a feature where if message.reactions.cache.get, so if it's got a certain reaction, or if it doesn't have a certain reaction, then we will delete it. So if it has a reaction, then we won't delete it. And this emoji that we will add here can be whatever you want. But I'm going to go to Discord Unicode emoji, and I like to use personally the stop sign. So I'm going to go in here, copy our stop sign and paste it in there. So if we add a stop sign reaction to a bot message that's going to be deleted, it will not be deleted. That is up to you if you want to add this if statement. Otherwise, you don't have to add that. So let's go back to our message.js, and we're going to const, and then we're going to have our del function equals require. And I'm sorry if I'm jumping all over the place, but we're going to go functions.js. So we'll add module.exports equals. So this is going to be an async function. We will make it async later for a reason, but we're gonna need client message passed into this function, and then we're going to just do an arrow function. So first thing we'll do is if message.author.bots. So if the message author is a bot, we're going to return. We don't want to deal with bot messages. And if no message.guild. So that's what the, if you don't know JavaScript very well, the exclamation point means if not. So if there is no message guild, we want to return. Next, we're going to move down, and this is another feature we're going to be adding. I like to have it so we have a prefix, but of course I also like to have it so we can @mention our user. So if we want to @mention our bot to do a command, we're going to add functionality for that. So if not, so exclamation point message.content.starts with prefix, and then this is where we'll add if the message.content.replace, and then this gets into some regex here. So it is //D /G, comma, and then we'll replace it with nothing. Dot starts with, and then we will do, we don't even need that. It can just be client.user.id. So if it starts with, actually, I think it does take a string. So we will do, we'll do tilde. If you don't know the syntax, again, it's tilde, and then for adding a variable, it is $bracket, and then we need a bracket at the end here. So if message starts with a prefix or it's an @mention, this basically is seeing if, this is basically, when you @mention a bot, it doesn't actually come in chat or the console as @ComicallyBot or ComicallyTestingBot, whatever your bot's name is. It actually will, it will be an ID, and along with the ID, it's going to have other, like, it will have carrots, left and right carrots. And so we're basically replacing everything just to get that ID. So if no message.member, this is another check you want to make. There's cases where you might not have a message member, so we want a message.member equals await message.guild.fetch member. This is a Discrd.js Discrd.js functionality that we have here. Is we can fetch members, and we'll pass that message and catch error. If you want, you can console log these errors. For now, I know what these errors are, and they're not a big deal, so I like to just catch error to error. This does nothing, basically. That way it doesn't flood my console with unnecessary errors. So once we have done that, we can now get into creating our args and command. So, or what the name of it will be. So we had before, I deleted this, but before we had this, it's going to be super similar. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here. However, one difference is because we are now incorporating, we can have it start with prefix or the bot ID or an @mention. We're going to say args equals, and then we'll do a ternary function. So message.content.starts with prefix, and then we add a question mark in between. So this is saying if it starts with the prefix, then we're going to slice the prefix. Else, if it does not, then we're going to do message.content.replace, And this is more regex. If you don't understand it, regex is pretty complicated. I don't understand it myself, so I tend to go off of references. But it's going to be / left bracket up caret \s right bracket / comma, and then we're going to replace that with an empty string. And then we're going to .trim .split, and then we're going to split on the spaces. So that's / space plus / G. This is comically bad from the future. I made 2 mistakes and I want to get them out of the way first before you continue on. This automatically turned to time. It's supposed to be trim, not time. And then before this / and after this bracket, you need a star there. And then command, we're going to leave that how it is. So our next check is if command.length is equal to 0, we're going to return. Of course, that's just if they used a underscore prefix or whatever and did not include a command. So let command equal client.commands.get cmd. So we're going to try and fetch that command from our commands list for our bot. And then if it is not, if there is no command, we're going to attempt to search if client.commands.get client.aliases.get command. So this is basically checking if it's not a command itself, it could be an alias. So then, of course, if it is a command, so if command, we will make use of our del function. So we're going to del message 0. So this keeps our chat clean. This deletes our initial message. And then from there, we're going to command.run. And we're going to pass the arguments client message args. So hopefully this makes sense. We're basically having these various checks in case of certain situations. And then we're checking if it's a command. So if we provide a command, if not, then we're checking if we're providing an alias. If we have provided a alias or command, we're going to run the command. So we have now completed our event, our message.js event. So now we have to hop into our index. And so we want this, what we have here, and we're going to add an array of aliases, if I can spell that right, and commands. So alias commands for each, and this goes out to MenuDocs. I believe they're the ones that have this idea. This was to try and slim down their index.js. I thought it was a great idea. Client x equals new collection, like that. So we're creating a new collection for each of the aliases and commands in our client. So it's hard to explain what that's doing, but that's basically helping us set up our commands and aliases. And then we're going to add another array that is command and event, or just event. Yeah, just event. Dot for each x, and this is an arrow function require, and then we're going to use tildes here again in this situation, /, and this is where it comes in handy with VS Code. We're going to go to handlers / and then our x variable, and then outside of this parenthesis here, we're going to be passing in our client. So this is how we set up our event handler and our message. So what's going to happen is we're going to fire so we'll send a message, which will trigger an event. That means that an event has happened from our client. So client will, it's basically saying client on message now. And this is what's going to run. That is the other thing we need. We need to add our command.js. So we have not added, I was looking. So as you see, we have event and command. Event, we were missing command. So we want to make our actual command handler. And this one's a little bit tougher, and this goes to the source code. They were the ones that helped with this idea. They made a very, very nice command handler. So we're going to require a reader sync from fs. So const reader sync equals require fs. And then this is the cool feature that they had that I really enjoyed. So they're creating an ASCII table. So const ASCII equals require. And then it's ASCII-table. And this is actually a new package we will be installing. And I have just noticed, so we're going to do npm I first. We need to install the packages from our package JSON. We have not done that yet. So let's install those. Where did our node modules folder go? Oh, you know what? I need to cd into episode 2, my bad. npm install. So this should create our node modules folder. So now we're going to do an npm install ASCII-table. So we're installing this ASCII table package. All right, so now if we check our package JSON, we should see .env, Discrd.js, and ASCII table are now all added. So we've got our ASCII table. So now we're going to set up our ASCII table that will be logged to basically show the status of our commands to see if they've been working or not. So let table equal new ASCII commands. Table.set heading. And we're going to set the heading and we're going to pass it command and load status. And then we're going to have a module.exports. And then this will, actually we will need client here. So module exports equals clients to an arrow function. That is a question mark, not an arrow. All right, so reader sync. And then we're going to, we don't need tilde for this one, but it's going to be /commands/. So this is where we can go ahead and add a folder. I am missing a parenthesis there. So we're going to add a folder for our commands. So we're reading from our commands folder, and for each, we're going to have subfolders within there. So for each directory, we're just going to call it dir. For each directory, we are going to do const commands equals reader sync. And then this is where we will need tildes, and it's going to be ./commands/ and then dir. So we're going to be checking that dir and its contents. We're going to be filtering it out to have only file and file that ends with j.js. So only the JavaScript files within there we're going to be loading And so here we're going to go in and for let file of commands. So for each command, we want to let pull equal require tilde. And we're going to do // commands. As we see here with VS Code, it shows up. And then we're going to do dir / and then this should be the file name. So we're going to pull require commands dir file name. So that is how we are going to pull our files. And if pull.name, so we want to make sure each file, this will make sense more when we get into building our first command. We'll do that in this episode so you can see, but our file is going to have a name, and if it doesn't, then it's not going to be a command that's going to work. So if it does have a name, client.commands.set. So we're setting our commands here. This is where we're setting commands. Set pull.name and then pull. So we're setting a command with our client with the name of the file and then of course the pull. And then this is the cool part that I like. So we'll do table.addRow file. And then if you don't know, if you're on Windows, you can do Windows dot, and that will bring up an emoji list. And we want like a check mark. All right. So we're adding a check mark to say, yes, our file has been loaded. Else table.addRow, of course, again, file, and then we're going to have Windows period, and then we're going to do a X. Did not load. Continue. And then we'll go down a couple lines. If pull.aliases and array.isArray pull.aliases, we're going to say pull.aliases.for each alias. For each alias, we're going to client aliases.set. So this is how we're setting our aliases now. It's going to be alias pull.name. Awesome. So that should be our command handler, event handler, all that set up. So now let's add our first command, and let's, I forgot, we're going to add subfolders within here. So let's do an info folder. And in that info folder, we're going to have a ping.js. So let me just pull up our ping.js. So this is where our structuring comes in, and this is where things will maybe make more sense. So module dot, I can't understand. Some things VS Code does to me is very confusing. Module.exports, we don't need client in this case, but name. Actually, no, we require client in our run function, not up here. So the name of the command, of course, is going to be ping. The category of this command is going to be within the info, because we are in the info folder. So category is info, and then we can just set a description, returns latency and API ping, I guess we could say. And then we will later add a permission system, for now, we're not going to do that. We're just going to go straight into our run function. And this is where our code goes for our actual command that we're going to be creating. And so this function will require clients, it will require message, and it will require args. And this goes into an arrow function like so. What did I do wrong here? I added a dot instead of a comma. Okay. All right, so our first command, message.channel.send. Let's send a message that says pinging. Then message, and we'll go into an arrow function. So this is basically saying we're going to send a message, keep track of that message with this then. And so we'll do let ping equal message.created timestamp minus message.created timestamp. So we're basically subtracting the original message from when it's sent and actually sent, because we'll send the message and that will be one time, and then when it's actually sent, that will be another time. That's how we get our ping. And then we'll do message.edit, and we can say we need, we'll do tildes here, pong, so ping pong, that's kind of the joke. So latency is, and then we'll have ping, or you could say ping is whatever you want, milliseconds, that's what it's going to be. API latency is, and then we do have to, unfortunately, math.round here because we will get a weird number, but this is something part of client. It's client.ws.ping, and then outside of our brackets and parentheses, I'll add ms for milliseconds. So in theory, we have created our command handler and event handler. I can almost guarantee there's going to be some sort of errors, but we never know until we try, and we'll debug the errors if there are any. Okay, so nothing is happening, and that is because we want to add another event in client on ready.js. So on ready.js, all right, so this is going to be my ready.js that we're going to be getting to in the future is quite a bit different, but I will try and simplify this just a bit. So const, I'm going to include strip indents for now, equals require, and then that's going to require common dash tags. So that is a new package, of course. So npm install common dash tags. All right, so now we'll set up our module.exports. And this will include client. So what I like to do, I'm gonna copy and paste this. You guys can go to the GitHub repository, or if you would like, you can. I can zoom in and you can take a look and see if you want to type this out. Basically, I just like to log that the bot is online and at what time it went online. That's all that is doing. All right, so I double checked something. So this, yes, we are, I still want to console log that the bot user is online, and we also then have a ready event inside our client. But what I missed in here, we want to console.log. I'm going to play my music again. We're going to console.log our table. That's what I forgot to do. And it's actually table.toString. This is something I think we have to do for the command line. So if we cross our fingers and hope for the best, everything should work. NodeMon. And as you see here, look at that. So this is our table we get, commands. So we have our command, ping.js, load status, check mark. Comically testing bot was online. And we have the dates and time. Yes, it is 3:53 in the morning. So let's try it. Equal ping. Okay, that did not work. So let's see what happened here. Okay, so it took me a hot minute to figure out what was wrong, but I made a couple of changes and I want to highlight what I had changed. First off, if you use quotation marks here, you will not get the actual emoji. So if you use a single quote, you will get the emoji. I know on some, I have a server I run on and it just shows up as a question mark. So these emojis might not work all the time for you. But my issue I had, I don't know if anyone caught it, but I did message.gold, not guild. So I currently, just for testing purposes, I'm going to say message.log. And I'll do message.content. And I'm going to go through. So I highly recommend when you're dealing with situations like this, console log everywhere, try and figure out where you're going wrong. And from console logging, I was able to figure out that I was in fact loading all of my my events, but for some reason it wasn't firing. It was not seeing a message.gold. So let's open up our Discord. I can't see it. As you can see, yeah, I went through here quite a bit and tried to figure out what was going on. So equals ping. This is, as you can see, also that console log I just added. So it's going to start showing what I'm typing. I do equal ping. We should get our first command to run. Nope. Okay. So one issue we had. So cannot read property cache of undefined. Oh, yep. Reactions. All right. So, I mean, it was good news that it sent the message, but we spelled reactions wrong. So equal ping. And look at that. Our first command is working. Pinging. Oh, it said pinging. So if I do it again, I'll clear the chat. So ping deleted our message. It said pinging and then it updated the message to say pong, latency 101 milliseconds, API latency 60 milliseconds. So I'm going to get rid of our console log message.content. I know this is going to be a long video and I apologize, but this is setting things up so everything in the future is going to be super straightforward and simple, and we're going to have much shorter videos. Again, I apologize. I know this is a long video. I am sorry if it's boring, but this is how we set up, and you want to start strong, and after you start strong, get everything right off the bat. Everything is going to fall together so much easier in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you can leave a like. If you need any support, feel free to leave a comment or join the Discord link down below. Or you can check, of course, now the new GitHub page. This will have more information. As always, have a good rest of your day, evening, night, whatever time you're watching this. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.